A very good morning to my dear students. I'm pretty sure that you are making good use of this lockdown period by learning through e-lectures. In the previous e-lecture 9, we discussed about the ecology, type of ecology, level of organization, ecosystem, type of ecosystem, biotic, abiotic components, habitat, ecological niche, and different functions of ecosystem. In this series of e-lecture, I welcome you all in today's e-lecture based on energy flow in ecosystems. After going through this e-lecture, you all will be able to understand energy transfer through various food chains, food web, and ecological pyramids. The energy flow in ecosystem is one of the major factors that supports the survival of such a great number of organisms. For almost all organisms on Earth, the primary source of energy is solar energy. It is assuming to find that we receive less than 50% of sun's effective radiation. When we say effective radiation, we mean the radiations which can be used by plants to carry out photosynthesis. Energy flow is based on the flow of energy through different trophic levels in an ecosystem. Our ecosystem is maintained by the cycling energy and nutrients obtained from different external sources. When we talk about trophic levels, we need to understand different trophic levels. The producers and consumers in the ecosystem can be arranged into different feeding groups and are known as trophic levels, and these trophic levels are also known as feeding level. So first trophic level is the producers, second trophic level is herbivorous, primary carnivorous represents the third trophic level, and top carnivorous tertiary consumers represents the top level. Moreover, in a food chain, the energy flow follows the 10% law. According to this law, only 10% of the stored energy is transferred to herbivores from the producers when plants are consumed by herbivores. The rest of 90% of energy is used for different processes by plants such as growth, respiration, and reproduction. Likewise, a more 10% is conveyed to carnivores. This is referred to as the 10% law of energy flow. The energy flow takes place via food chain and food web. During the process of energy flow, plants being the producers undergo photosynthesis. The energy is stored in various organic products in plants, passed on the primary consumers in the food chain, followed by secondary and then tertiary consumers. At each trophic level, energy is degraded, thus the energy flow is unidirectional. And in this food chain, we see the grasshopper eats the plant, the mice or rat eats the grasshopper, the snake eats the mice, the eagle eats the snake, and then maybe the nutrients along with sun and water goes the grass to grow. There are different type of food chains, grazing food chain and detritus food chain. So first we study grazing food chain. This is a normal food chain that we observe in which plants are the producers and the energy flow from the producers to the herbivores, then to carnivores and so on. So, various food chains, a three linked food chain comprises of corn, which is eaten by rat and then eaten by owl. A four linked food chain starts from carrots, eaten by rabbit, rabbits are eaten by fox, and fox will be eaten by lion. A five linked food chain will be starting from grass, will be consumed by grasshopper, will be further consumed by frog, later on python, and finally by eagle. Detritus food chain is also known as saprophytic food chain. This is the type of chain which interacts with the dead organic matter in two microorganisms and then goes to organisms feeding on detritus and their predators. It depends on the direct solar energy. This food chain cycles energy from non living remains of both plants and animals, which are called as detritus. The energy is produced by the breakdown of dead plant and animal matter is cycled into the grazing food chain. Detritus is organic matter formed by the decaying animal or plant tissue or fecal matter. Detritus eaters such as insects or worms feed on dead plant. Food web. The word means web means network. A food web can be defined as a network of interconnected food chain so as to form a number of feeding interrelationships among different organisms of a biotic community. A food chain cannot stand isolated in an ecosystem. The same food resource may be a part of more than one chain. This is possible when the resource is at the lower trophic level. A food web comprises all the food chains in a single ecosystem. It is essential to know that each living thing in an ecosystem is a part of multiple food chain. Food webs show how several food chains are related. It is a more complex depiction of how the plants and animals in an ecosystem relate. More species are included in a food web, which uses a series of arrows to describe relationships. A food web benefits life science lessons on physical and behavioral adaptations of plants and animals by representing a pattern of consumption based upon natural survival attributes and instincts. Food webs are significant tools in understanding that plants are the foundation of all ecosystem and food chains, surviving life by providing nourishment and oxygen needed for survival and reproduction. The food web provides stability to the ecosystem. So if we start our food web from this corn, the grasshopper eats this corn, the frog eats grasshopper. Rat can also eat grasshopper. Then can be consumed by this wolf, and rat can be similarly consumed by eagle. So these are all food chains which are interconnected and converting it in a food web. Now we discuss ecological pyramids. An ecological pyramid can be defined as a graphical representation of different ecological parameters, namely the number of individuals found at each trophic level, the energy quantity, or the biomass found in each trophic level. These pyramids depict the producers at the base, whereas the apex depicts the top level consumers found in ecosystem. Pyramids are mainly of three types. Pyramid of number. So, what is pyramid of number? It gives a graphical representation of the number of individuals found at each trophic level in a food chain of an ecosystem. This pyramid can be inverted or upright depending on the crowd of producers. Example, this is example of a Greenland ecosystem. This pyramid is upright, where the number of producers is followed by the number of herbivores, which in turn is followed by number of secondary and tertiary consumers. Therefore, the number of individuals at the level of producers will be maximum, whereas the number of individuals at the top as carnivorous will be the least. Pyramids of number in a parasitic food chain is inverted. Why? Because in this food chain, producers provide food to fruit eating birds, which in response support few species of insects. Now we discuss pyramid of biomass. It is a graphical representation of biomass. Biomass is total amount of living or organic matter in an ecosystem, present in unit area and different trophic levels. Pyramid of biomass is generally ascertained by gathering all organisms occupying each trophic level, separating and measuring their dry weight. Each trophic level has a certain mass of living material at a particular time called standing crop, which is measured as the mass of living organism biomass or the number in a unit area. This can be upright pyramid of biomass. Ecosystems found on land mostly have pyramids of biomass with large base of primary producers as we see here and smaller trophic level perched on the top, hence the upright pyramid of biomass. The biomass of autotrophs or producer is at the maximum. The biomass of next trophic level, primary consumers, is less than the producers. Similarly, the other consumers, such as secondary and tertiary consumers, are comparatively less than its lower level, respectively. The top of the pyramid has very less amount of biomass. Now, this is inverted pyramid of biomass. A reverse pyramidal structure is found in most aquatic ecosystem. Here, the pyramid of biomass may assume an inverted pattern. However, pyramid of numbers for aquatic ecosystem is upright. In a water body, The producers are tiny phytoplanktons that grow and reproduce rapidly. In this condition, the pyramid of biomass has a small base, with the producer biomass at the base providing support to consumers' biomass of large weight. Hence, it assumes an inverted shape. Now, finally, the pyramid of energy. It is a graphical structure representing the flow of energy through each trophic level of a food chain over a fixed part of the natural environment. An energy pyramid represents the amount of energy at each trophic level, and loss of energy at each is transferred to another trophic level. Energy pyramid, sometimes called trophic pyramid or ecological pyramid, is useful in quantifying the energy transfer from one organism to another along with the food chain. Energy decreases as one moves through the trophic levels from the bottom to the top of the pyramid. Thus, the energy pyramid is always upward. In this pyramid of energy, we can see the producers have the largest amount of energy, then primary consumers have less energy than producers, secondary consumers have less energy than primary consumers, and tertiary consumers has the smallest level of energy in this pyramid of energy, hence making it always upright. Thank you. Stay home, stay safe, happy learning.